Anytime I put out a video that directly states or indirectly implies that free will is an illusion, I'm almost always met with a visceral reaction from a lot of people. The idea that we have very limited control over our own lives and even our own thoughts makes people feel uncomfortable. Understandably so. So with this video, I thought, how do I approach the topic of the illusion of free will using the simulation hypothesis? So I'm going to use a little gaming terminology here and there to help illustrate my point. If we are in a simulation, the default setting of your human avatar has free will set to off. This doesn't mean that it cannot be toggled on, but most of us are operating on story mode, although many of us think that we are in free play mode. Now, what drives most of our actions while we are in story mode is that so-called internal monologue. You know that voice in your head? Yeah, that's what's running your show. Sidebar, some people's internal monologues are visual rather than auditory, taking the form of involuntary visualizations, while others are so identified with their internal monologue that they are unaware of it, but it's still running the show. Now, if your entire life is just a constant reaction to every suggestion, taunt, and jeer of this involuntary voice, of this disembodied hallucination that we call an internal monologue, how can you say that you are free? Now, some people think that their internal monologue is actually them. However, a lot of people grapple with their own internal monologue, finding it to be incredibly invasive, almost always negative, and a huge contributor to anxiety and depression. And for the majority of people, it's almost impossible to turn it off. Now, if the voice in your head really was you, then what would be the point of the conversation? If you're the one who's talking and the one who's listening, you already know what's going to be said before you say it, so what's the point? You are not the voice in your head. You're the one who's aware of it. Most people do not intentionally generate their own thoughts. Most of the time a random thought occurs, people accept its suggestions as true, and then they react instead of pausing to analyze and reflect. That is the default operating system of most human beings. So, to reintroduce the simulation hypothesis, you could call your internal monologues in-game prompts. And the purpose of these prompts is to cause you to have the most dramatic, the most emotionally immersive in-game story mode experience. The more emotionally engaged you are, the more immersive the simulation feels. Now, it is possible to toggle from story mode to a limited free play mode, and you can start by consciously observing your internal monologue and try to stop reacting to its every prompt. A great book to help you with this is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.